All right, thank you so much. Here, the program is still this morning on ITV. Yes, I told you that we're going to be looking at entrepreneurship in Nigeria. It's a brand new year. Perhaps another time, another opportunity for would-be CEOs, would-be entrepreneurs to learn from the masters, and also to get to know one or two things that the government has in place, preparations on the ground to ensure that people that ordinarily want to be entrepreneurs are encouraged in various ways. Well, we are so privileged this morning to have three persons. We have a lady and a gentleman on set here, and we've got a renowned CEO. He's going to be joining us via Zoom. First and foremost, let me welcome Mrs. Violet Obiokoro. She's the Managing Director of Edo Jobs. Madam, you're welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank
and
you for
also
having
we
me.
have a renowned entrepreneurship in Benin City. Talking about Mr. Matthew Ehirabo. He's the MD of Mahio Shoemaking Directorate. Mr. Matthew, welcome to this program.
Mr. Evans.
And joining us via Zoom this morning, we have Engineer Utome Greg Ogbefun, the CEO, Stags Investments, and of course, Stags Engineering Company Nigeria Limited. Sir, a very good morning to you. You're welcome on this show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, perhaps we may just start with you because you are the master of the game as it relates to this topic this morning. So let's get to have an insight from you. When we say entrepreneurship in Nigeria, how would you want to describe entrepreneurship in Nigeria? Let's start from there.
Well, I think entrepreneurship in Nigeria and entrepreneurship anywhere in the world is the same. Basically, an entrepreneur is an individual who has acquired some knowledge in some field and then sets up an enterprise using that knowledge to create job opportunities for other people. And then, of course, such opportunities would lead to creation of wealth for that organization. That's my simple description for an entrepreneur.
Okay. All right. I had to do my own personal finding about you, and I understand that at last year's birthday celebration in Benin City, you actually did a book launch, and the title of that book, it's not always easy, My Voyage from Obscurity. Now, we don't understand, it's not very easy, your voyage from obscurity. Would you want to throw light on that as we talk about entrepreneurship?
Well, obscurity is where I'd like to start. First of all, I was born into not a particularly wealthy family. We're just an average struggling family. And parents felt all they could give to us, the children, was education. So with education, we have been able to navigate my way from what I would call a very humble background to where we are today. It was not easy, first of all, to go through school with parents struggling to pay your school fees. It was not easy to be in class with children who are privileged to have home teachers and have all they needed to come to school. Of course, when we finished all of that, it was not easy to go beyond the level where your parents could really afford to educate you. So from the age of 16, one was privileged to have a scholarship to complete one's secondary school education. Higher school was in scholarship. And then soon after that was a scholarship again by Shell BP in 1972 to go to the UK to study marine engineering, where I got my teeth. So I came back to Nigeria as a marine engineer, worked briefly for a British firm, and realized that I couldn't fulfill my potentials, and then decided to branch out to set up my own business. And that was 37 years ago. It's a long story, you probably saw that in my biography, but I started my business with 100 Naira on the 1st of July 1986. And to the glory of God, we are where we are today. There were a lot of falls, a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of situations to contend with which were beyond you. which could obviously truncate your vision of being an entrepreneur. But your knowledge is the first asset you have to navigate through challenges. So one always relied back on what you knew on your down times when it looks like all was lost. The only thing left for you is your intellect, the knowledge that you have, and that is what you use to now create new opportunities for yourself and for others. And that's how I have managed to get where I am.
Okay. Now, we understand that you established the Institute of Technology in Usain, Maritime Institute of Technology in Usain. That's in Usain Polytechnic in Edo State here. Now, you also talked about that you had some challenges at the time you started. But if you look at those challenges you had then, and the kind of challenges that prospective entrepreneurs may be going through today, you may want to say that the challenges are more. So in that kind of situation, what would you want to, how would you want to advise the prospective entrepreneur that is watching you this morning?
I think that's a very, very good question indeed. In our time, education was good education. Structured government played their role, teachers played their role, and the children or students played their role. But today, unfortunately, education is not what it was in those days. Thanks for some states, and Edo State is one of them, who are trying to restructure the education and get it back on course. So from that perspective, children of nowadays really don't have the kind of foundation we're privileged to have in our time. So that's a challenge for them. But having said that, you now have more private institutions these times than we did have in our time. And these private institutions are the ones now trying to set up seemingly good quality education that those who can afford, mind what I've said, not what I've said, those who can afford it now leverage on. And then these children who are privileged to have good education now still have a challenge of opportunities to get employed and put to practice what they've learned in school. That's a big challenge. Unemployment situation in this country now is very high. Even I had to branch out. I had the privilege of working for Shell in the UK for a good 8 years. That was an opportunity for me to imbibe some practical knowledge. And then, of course, when I came back to Nigeria, I worked for 3 years. I had the opportunity to work before I could confidently step out. But these days, you have young children who have done their bit. They've gone to school. They've come out with excellent results and qualifications, but the job opportunities are not there. So what is now left for them to do is what some of them are doing. They are applying themselves to not very ethical things. I wouldn't like to use the very derogatory word that they use out there, like Yahoo and things like that. And then, unfortunately, the young girls are now finding other means of livelihood and survival. So there is a challenge at this time. Who is to blame? Maybe not government. Maybe it's the reality of the times. But in the midst of all of this, you still have some children who have decided not to be daunted by these challenges and are looking into their inner faculties to come up with ideas to survive the time. So you have some young children who are becoming very innovative in developing products and services that the society needs, and they're making it. And those are the ones who, in the face of obstacles, in the face of challenges and deprivations, they are determined to look inwards and tap into their inner resources and break the jinx and move on in life.
Okay. All right. We just, you're still going to be with us. Let's quickly come back to our studios in Benin here so that we get to join the guest on set here. Now, Madam, you're welcome one more time to the program.
Thank you.
And also to our young CEO there, you're
Good
welcome.
morning.
Now, Madam, we just watched you know, a renowned entrepreneur, somebody that started, he said he started with 100 Naira. And of course, he's been through a whole lot. He's the managing director of Starks Maritime and Engineering Company Limited. Stacks Investment Company Limited, and of course, so many other investment opportunities that he has established here in Nigeria. Now, let's come back to Edo State, where we reside, with what the Edo State government is doing now in terms of skill acquisition opportunities, in terms of entrepreneurship and all that. Now, Mr. Obevun talked about the kind of education that youth seems to be having now. That seems to be a major problem. So with what you people are doing at the Edo job, at giving out skill acquisition opportunities to youths and all that, how do you look at the issue of the kind of maybe not too well education that youths of these days are exposed to?
Okay, so well, for us, we make provision for both those that are well educated and those that are not too well educated. We provide vocational skills for those that are not too well educated. Coincidentally, some of the educated ones are still interested as well. So it really doesn't matter what educational background you have, as long as you are interested in learning a skill or improving yourself to get a job. We provide employability skills as well to those that come into our job centers. The aim, the focus is to get this youth off the streets, get them employed, get them, you know, self-reliant and self-empowered. So whether you're educated, you have a university degree, you're welcome. You have a secondary school degree, you're welcome. You are not lettered, you're welcome. Because you don't need education to go through masonry, to go through POP training, to do tiling. You don't need that much of an education. You need education for solar panel installation, but it doesn't have to be a master degree holder or even a degree holder. So for whatever level you are, we have a provision for you to make sure you're self-empowered and you're getting something. You get something doing to sustain yourself. Okay.
You also said that you people, make employment opportunities for people. Does it mean that at the end of the day, you help, people that have acquired the skills to get jobs?
Yes, we have a job matching and placement center.
Oh, really?
Where we have a database of entrepreneurs, employers in Edo State and even outside sometimes. So we match job seekers to the employers that have given us vacancies. These are the vacancies we need to fill. So we get these youth off the streets where they come in. We get them in. We give them employability training skills, soft skills, work ethics, intellectual upbringing, as in how to go for interviews, how to relate with persons, interpersonal relationship. We provide those trainings for them. And then we match them with jobs that are available depending on their qualifications and the qualifications required for those jobs. So that is what we do in the job matching and placements. Now, if we see that they cannot get jobs or they do not desire white-collar jobs, we send them over to the skills development units where they go through these vocational trainings. After doing a needs-based assessment, what they desire, what is good. If it's a locality, because we are across Edo State, it is the heartbeat of Governor Baseki. So he has taken this all across Edo State. So we go to the communities and we do a needs-based assessment. And based on that, we provide the training that they desire. The youth, what they think they need to do or what is in demand in their community. We provide those trainings for them.
All right, Mr. Matthew Hierbo, you are the Managing Director of Mahil Shoemaking Directorate. I also understand that you are a lecturer at the Igbinedion University.
Yes.
Now, ordinarily, one will see you as a shoemaker. That's how people will describe you now, that we know him, he makes shoes.
Yes.
But again, getting to know that you lecture at a university,
yes.
How is it possible? What do you lecture there?
Yes, it's about entrepreneurship, and it is the way to go now in the global setting, and even in Nigeria, we're looking at entrepreneurship, the prospect in Nigeria. Let me come this way. The International Monetary Fund is saying that the global economy will be receding this year because of a lot of factors put in place, insecurity, war here and there, and even coming to Nigeria. Something is, what we need to do is to get our identity right. Getting our identity right, knowing what to produce, how to produce, and to whom to produce, we talk about shoemaking. It started from a little beginning, and by the grace of God today, we are into consultancy, both in private, public and private institution. And the something is what you produce, what need is it meeting? I make shoes, you know, because there is a need for it to protect your feet and to look good. You know, that is the market that has been created over the years. And what we are looking at this time around in Nigeria, talking about entrepreneurship prospect, we need to create the enabling environment, which I thank God the state government is doing through their do job, to create enabling, because government cannot employ the whole workforce. But by the time the enabling environment is created, then people will be engaged. And those things hitherto that were imported will be produced locally and consumed locally, because by the time we live on import-dependent economy, then you have a worsening balance of payment deficit, then you have a problem of reduction in the foreign reserve. You know, we've just been told now that there is a reduction in the foreign reserve and all of that. Then you have the problem of economic issues. And by the time this is done, you see, you will not be depending on other nations, which does not mean well for our country.
Okay.
So we are telling everybody, whether in the leather works industry, fashion designing, fabrication, let us engage ourselves positively so that we will not be dependent on what comes from other countries. God has blessed us with natural resources. Let us put them into production, because entrepreneurship has to do with production of raw materials into finished goods, creating value. Okay. So this is what we are looking at.
All right, Engineer Greg Ogbefu, we still have you there. Now, you see that what the average entrepreneur seek for is to make profit and all that. Now, one thing that seems to be a major problem in Nigeria today as it relates to investment is that return on investment seems to be very low. Little wonder that you have most of these youngsters, able-bodied men, they would prefer to go to where there are greener pastures, fly outside the country where they can make more money and all that. Now, what would you want to say? What advice would you want to give this morning? Is it a problem that has to do with the government, or is it a problem that has to do with attitudes? You know, we as Nigerians, that there is need for us to stay back home so as to, you know, build our entrepreneurship base. Mr. Greg Ogbefu.
Again, a very good question. I'd like to first of all appreciate the new head of Edo Jobs. I was very familiar with Kinebo, who was there before, and I appreciate what they are doing. But I want to quickly say that since coming back home to Benin about a couple of years ago, you may be aware I set up an ultra-modern automobile maintenance center here in Benin. In that 2 years, we've employed about 68 people in an automobile workshop. So you can imagine the quality and the capacity of what we're trying to do there. We have approached Edo Jobs a couple of times to look for people to employ on their market. And it hasn't been very, very successful because of the same fundamental issue I hammered on. You have students or people who have gone to university, they come for an interview. They can't even write a simple application. For a private entrepreneur, you don't employ people on sentiments. You want to get people who can get the job done. You want to get people who are trained. So at the end of the day, we haven't had any luck employing one person from Edo Jobs. And I think the lady there now needs to take note of this. Most of the people coming out there, like she said, maybe it can be at best artisans out there. There are differences between artisans and then real entrepreneurs. To be an entrepreneur, first of all, you need to have a long-term vision of your business. You're not there to make quick money or quick return on investment. You are there to set a roadmap that you will follow, and decades down the line, that business is existing and growing. And you find that education is key in understanding that there is something called corporate governance that the law has put in place to guide you in laying the right foundation for your business to thrive. And if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you are not going to become an entrepreneur in a year, or even in 2 years, or even sometimes in 3 years. Today, cumulatively, I probably have close to 1,800 people in my employ in different companies across the country. I am here in Benin, seemingly retired, doing other things, but those businesses are running because from day one, I learned that I needed to respect certain corporate governance requirements that you must put in place. And it's not easy, and it's not cheap. Most young people today have short-term view of enterprise. They want to go in there, they want to hammer, they want to hit it big, and that's it done. Only few of them. I have a very classic example of a very young girl who is a relation of my wife, who read biological sciences from the university, came out at the age of 20, and went to Abuja to do her youth service. During the youth service, she said, "Daddy, I want to begin to market a particular feminine product that women need. Very, very simple thing. How much do you need to start this?" She convinced me that she knew what she was going to do. 200,000 naira, I gave it to her. She finished her youth service last November and came to Benin to spend Christmas with us. And I was asking her, what is the status of your business? Daddy, I said, how much have you made me of? He said, now I have 700,000 naira in my business account, but in my personal account, I only have 26,000 naira. What struck me there is this is an entrepreneur in the making who has already separated from day one her business receivables and her personal receivables. Most young people or most people who say they are entrepreneurs, they are not ready to do that. Everything that comes is profit. And before you know it, the capital is gone. So those who are migrating out of the country, they are migrating out of the country not because the return on investment is low. They are migrating out of the country because the environment is not conducive even for them to render service. And that's why you have the likes of doctors, the likes of teachers, and they are leaving the country because the environment is not conducive.
Okay.
Not necessarily because the return on investment is not there. And there's a lot the government can do to make the environment conducive. And it's a whole lot they can do. But I'm not going to go into that right now. We're in an election year. We're hoping that this year things might change for the better.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Now, Madam, we'll just take one question from you and also your question from the other young man there. Now, you talked about that you've got centers all over the states, across the state and all that. Now, the question we ask, what is the response like? Because I've lived all my life in Benin. When you say Edo Jobs, readily we think of, oh, it's located in Benin City. Perhaps only youths in Benin City are opportuned. So what is the response like across the states?
Well, we're still building.
Okay.
We're still pushing the information sensitization to all the local communities. We have 7 job centers now in the 3 senatorial districts, Uromi, Auchi, Usain, and so on, Benin City, Ego, and Ikpobaoka. So we're pushing really to get them to believe that these things are for them and they are absolutely free. Because when we provide these trainings, government makes sure that we give them starter packs as well. So if you come for welding and fabrication, you're given a welding machine at the end of the training. And thereafter, you're taking for entrepreneurship development training, because beyond acquiring the skill, you need to know the business of the skill that you have acquired. And then the government has also provided MSME funds so that if you qualify for the criteria required to meet, to get these loans, you achieve them. So we, during the entrepreneurship development training as well, we teach them business fundamentals, how to register your organization, how to have, a registered bank account, and all of that will enable you to teach you financials, have good bookkeeping, everything that will enable you become a firm entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is a long journey. There is the sales and marketing aspect. There is the managing your human resources when you begin to grow your organization. It's a whole lot. So we try to make them understand that it is not an overnight success thing.
Okay.
So we provide all of these trainings as well.
All right, now, thank you. Now, Mahi, you want to say one or two things?
Yes, it's an election year for Nigeria. We are talking about entrepreneurship prospects. So I want to advise the political class. You know, politics will come and go every 4 years. The economy remains. You understand? The president or the governor, they are the driver of economic resources. So I want to say, I want to appeal to them. Let us have the interests of this nation at heart, beyond what they are going to get every tenure. Because political elections will come and go, but the economy remains. And that is our identity to the world. By the time our currency has no more purchasing power, the economy will be dwindling. Access to marketing and all of that, petroleum resources, getting transportation and all of that will make the economy difficult. You see, when the man was talking about people are, flying abroad because the enabling environment is not there. So that is what I want to say. Let the political class do the needful to create enabling so that doing business in Nigeria will be welcoming.
All right, I really want to say a very big thank you to you gentlemen. Today, first and foremost, Engineer Utome Ogbefu. He's the Managing Director of CEO of Stacks Marine and Engineering Company Limited, and also Stacks Investment Company Limited. Now, I must praise you, Engineer, for establishing the Maritime Institutes of Technology in Hussein. I must give that to you. A very big thank you for doing that, Engineer, bringing the goods back home. And we hope that when we have opportunity to want to come to you again, definitely you give us the time to call on you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And also a very big thank you, madam, for making time to come on the show.
My pleasure.
Today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's the first segment of our discussion this morning on the program this morning on ITV. So we're going to be talking about politics of endorsements as we get along on the show. Please stay tuned.